Hey guys, welcome back to Destin Reads Romance. I'm Destin and today I'm going to be doing my monthly wrap up for May. I'm really excited. I have all of my stats written down. I have my favorites, my least favorites. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk about what I read in May. Before any of that happens, I recently read a comment where someone was asking to be introduced to this puppy who is always in the background of my videos. You normally see his butt, just like he's showing right now. Ollie, come here. Come see, buddy. So people who are requesting his face. This is Ollie. He is a micro golden doodle and he's often in the background of my videos. Sometimes he'll come cuddle with me. Sometimes he'll come cuddle like this, like a baby. Like a baby? Oh. And he also always has his own sloth baby. It's de-stuffed. He does it himself, but he sleeps with this at night. So this is Ollie and I might put him in my thumbnail. Do you want to be in the thumbnail? He doesn't like to look at the camera though directly. Oh, that would be a good one. We'll take it later, huh? Okay. Now that Ollie has been introduced to those who haven't met him yet, let's talk about books. For the month of May, I read 37 books. 37 books and I had 0 DNFs. I was very proud of that. It doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes I'll have at least 1 DNF. The more books I read per month, the more likely I will have a DNF. It's just how it goes. 30 of those books were new reads for me and 7 were rereads, and most of the time I'll have at least 4 rereads because of the podcast. I used to reread a lot. My rereads used to outnumber my new reads. And then I discovered 9 new authors this month, so that's great. In my indie versus traditional, I read 23 independently published books and 14 traditionally published books. I had a little bit of a shakeup when it comes to genre. I had 18 contemporaries, which was not the shakeup. Most of the time, contemporaries way outnumber any other subgenre of romance that I'm reading. 10 historicals, 3 urban fantasy romances, and 6 sci-fi. Now, 6 sci-fi is pretty good for me, and that was because I was reading the Men of the North series, and it was a wild ride, completely bingeable, and I listened to them all on AnyPlay. So AnyPlay is a subscription audiobook service, and you pay like $24 for 3 months, and you get unlimited audiobooks. Like, they don't cut you off at a certain point. It's not like, oh, you listen to 5 audiobooks, and then now you have to wait. There's no such thing in AnyPlay, at least for now, because it's a very new app and I'm loving it. I read 3 ARCs, which are advanced reader copies, just in case anybody didn't know. Sometimes I get that question. 17 audiobooks, 6 ebooks, but 8 ebooks were specifically KU, so I do separate out those because I do like to see how many KU books I am reading versus ebooks I either purchase or get for free or on sale or whatever, and 3 books in paperback, which was the same as last month. For the ratings, I had 13 5 stars. I'm just so happy that my 5 stars end up by being like the majority of my reads. It's happened twice in a row, at least from the stats that I've been keeping per month. Like I'm just comparing it to April, how I've been doing this. I just like that it skews more favorably towards books that I actually like per month rather than the books that I disliked. 4.5 stars, I had 6 of them, 8 4 stars, 3 3.5 stars, 3 3 stars, 2 2.5s, and 2 2 stars, which that's great. That's great for me. I really like those odds. Now for my least favorite books of the month of May. Both of these books, I rated 2 stars and I read toward the end of the month, so they're very fresh in my mind. The first one I want to talk about is Fires of Winter by Joanna Lindsey. Now, this is an old school historical romance. That doesn't automatically put it in the pile of I'm not gonna like it, because I have read quite a few old school historical romances that I've liked that were written in the 70s or 80s or 90s or whatever that could have problematic content, but I still enjoy them. Unfortunately, I read a couple of Joanna Lindsey's and I haven't liked any of them. This is definitely the worst one that I've read, but I kind of expected it to have the most problematic things because this is a Viking romance, and so it has a captor-captive element to it, and there is just a lot of rape. I don't like the heroines that Joanna Lindsey creates. She definitely got on my nerves, and the hero wasn't doing himself any favors either. The hero is Viking. He was not involved in the raid at all. It was his father that actually kidnapped Lady Brenna and brought him back to his son, and this dude, he was very like, woe is me, I've been scorned by a female, so that means all females are liars, and especially this one, I don't like this one, and I'm gonna teach her place and stuff like that. And it was just like, lack of communication, did not like this, 2 stars. The other 2-star book that I read was Nyx by Serena Akeroyd. I love Serena Akeroyd's Mafia series, the 5 Points Mob series, and there are some crossovers that happen even in this book, some of the 5 Points Mobs guys, you will see them in here. And it's actually kind of nice seeing them because I'm like, hey, I know those people. But I did not want to read the MC series because I don't gel well with MC culture, with MC lifestyle, with the language that they use to describe women. It's just not my jam. I talked about this in my weekly wrap up that featured Nyx, but I just could not get behind this hero. The way the hero treated his, basically, they're called sweet butts in the MC world, and Camille is a character that I definitely know from her 5 Points Mob series. I really like Camille. I knew that she had a history with the MC. Witnessing the treatment that she received in the MC, especially by Nyx, she didn't do anything to deserve it. A lot of times, these girls who are considered like hangers-ons, they just kind of sleep with the people in the MC. Everyone looks down on them because they're sleeping with the people in the MC. And the heroines are so different from all of these girls. But Camille, she was awesome still. Like, she didn't do anything wrong. She just wanted Nyx to love her back. He did not love her back, and instead, when the heroine came on the scene, Julia turned Nyx's eye. Nyx completely abandons Camille and embarrasses her in front of the entire MC. And so the way that he handled that whole situation, embarrassing Camille for absolutely no reason, it was just, he's not a hero I can get behind. He's not a hero that I'm like, oh yes, I thank God that he dumped Camille in favor of Julia. I'm just like, just break up with Camille. But in the MC's world, these girls don't deserve that type of respect to even just be like, hey, it's not working out between us. We shouldn't really be seeing each other, sleeping with each other anymore because, you know, I'm into Julia. Nyx was a butt. I didn't like him. I also really didn't like the distinction that whenever he was with Camille, he did not care about her pleasure at all. Like, he stated it, like, this was for me, and he did it in a public way that was kind of meant to embarrass Camille and just kind of like enforce that she was trash and didn't deserve any better than what he was giving her. And then whenever he was with the heroine, he was thinking that, oh, Julia, which is the heroine, his love interest, seems to not have that much experience in bed. I bet you all the men that she'd been with before didn't even give her orgasms. Like, they're so stupid for not giving her orgasms. They didn't know what a treasure she was and stuff. Like, I'll show them. And I'm just like, wow, what a hypocrite. You didn't care about Camille's pleasure, but then you're like eviscerating these guys that Julia was with before because they didn't see to her pleasure. I'm like, that's you. That is you, but with another woman. Anyway, I'm glad that Camille ends up with somebody 1,000 times better than Nyx. I hated him as a character. I did already pick up the next book in this series, and Link is 1,000 times a better hero already, and I'm barely even into the book. But whenever Nyx does show up, I just hate it. He's just a problem for me. He is a problem. I did have 2.5 stars. One of them was The Helliing Bride by Catherine Coulter. This is the second book in her Bride series, and I actually really liked the first book. Even though it had the problematic content, The Helliing Bride is definitely no Sherbrooke Bride. It's just not the same. The hero didn't treat the heroine very well. I liked the heroine for the most part. I felt like she was a pretty strong character, especially in the beginning, but then she had some moments where I was just kind of like, where was that spark, where was that fire that you had in the beginning, and all of a sudden you're just kind of like letting things happen to you. And I felt like she was more of a take action kind of girl, and she wasn't towards the end. And the hero, he just took too long to clue into what was actually going on, because there was rumors that the heroine was with like 3 guys. She was unmarried, she was young, but yet she was sleeping with 3 men. And so he decides to kind of treat her like a whore, and I was like, no, I don't like that. So anyway, did not enjoy that one very much. And then I also had The Holdout by Mickey Miller. There's a lot going on with this sports romance, lots of like lies, lots of weird, and there was just some weird things going on. The way that they met, she was working at a hot dog stand, not a hot dog stand, a restaurant that sells hot dogs, and he was ordering stuff. She made a comment about his order, like, why are you ordering so much? Which I was like, that's incredibly rude. What? Why would you do that? It started a fight. The reason why this fight happened, the reason why she had to comment and he had to comment back, was because the author wanted an argument to go viral. I just did not really understand why we had to choose this route. She is looking for another job. She just so happens to be in the building of his team owners, the NFL team that he plays for. And they're like, hey, why don't we hire you to be his personal assistant and also report back to us on any weird things that he's doing. So she decides to take the money and work for him. And it's just, there were some good parts of this book, but it's just some weird situations that I just could not get behind. I could not get behind it, and I wish that those parts that I didn't like were just not there, because it would have been so much more of an enjoyable read and I could have focused on like the relationship rather than the weird things that were happening. So, and now for my favorite books of the month. So I'm going to start with like my top favorites, but I do want to mention some books that I rated 4.5 stars and 4 stars because I still really love them. And yeah, there were just a lot. Like I said, I read more books that I really liked than I didn't like, so I feel like I don't want to leave some books out. My favorite book that I read by far is Devil in Disguise by Lisa Kleypas. This was an arc. This book does not come out until July, and I just couldn't wait. As soon as it dropped on my Kindle, this is one of the instances where normally I'll wait closer to release month, and I did not. I did not wait. I had to read it as soon as it dropped because it was just burning a hole in my Kindle. It's beautiful. I can't wait to talk about it in a little bit more detail. I will be rereading it. I know that the Rake Appreciation Society is going to be doing a book review in July when it does come out, I do believe. Or maybe it's August. Don't quote me. Well, I'll fix it right here. I'm pretty sure it might be August. We are doing a podcast episode on this in August as well, to give people time to read it. I didn't want to do it too close to release date. But anyway, this book is so well worth it. It's a continuation of her Ravenel series, but the heroine is actually the daughter of a prominent couple in the Wallflower series. And I just love the Wallflowers. They kind of kicked off this world, this universe, because like the Wallflowers, the Hathaways, and the Ravenels, they have so much interconnection between them. And I like that. I like seeing familiar faces. I like seeing characters from the Wallflowers be parents who are now heroes and heroines. And I thought that these characters were phenomenal. Merritt was such a great heroine and Kira was such a great hero. I love their romance. It's beautiful. I want to talk about it. I just want to talk about it all the time. But another arc that I read was The Kings of Kearney by Navessa Allen. This was a new to me author. This was a fluke. I requested this from NetGalley because I like the cover. Not even gonna lie, it's an MC romance. It's one of my least favorite subgenres of romance, and I still requested it because it sounded intriguing to me. It's unlike any other MC romance that I've ever read before. I really, really enjoyed it. I can't wait for the next book in the series. I am very much looking forward to reading other books by Navessa Allen. I know that Jen has read maybe 2 books that Navessa Allen has written besides Kings of Kearney. The hero and the heroine are both veterans of the United States military, and the MC is specific for those who were veterans. A lot of them have injuries, and the heroine works at the bar. She just moved there because her grandmother has Alzheimer's, and they had a really nice facility for her to live in, and stuff is going down in that facility, in that nursing home. The hero notifies the heroine and just kind of like, I need an in, something's fishy going on, so we're gonna pretend like I'm your new boyfriend and bring me in there so I can like do some recon. And she wants to be helpful because she's like, I have to know if my grandmother's safe. And I really like it because she can handle herself very well. I love them both as characters, and I don't want to say that there was plot twists, but the story definitely took some turns that I personally wasn't expecting, and I was pleasantly surprised about. I liked it. I liked it a lot. Another book that I really loved was Duke of Pleasure by Elizabeth Hoyt. This is like the second to last book in her Maiden Lane series. I loved it so much because the heroine is a character that we have seen in multiple books, previous books, and it was really nice to see her because she is kind of like, we first meet her, she's kind of like this street urchin masquerading as a boy, and she's also a female ghost of St. Giles, and it's just so cool. I love the way that the story unfolds. The hero is a single dad, and the kids were phenomenal. I love their role in the story. It was beautiful. I love this book so much. It's one of my favorites in Elizabeth Hoyt's Maiden Lane series. One more 5-star book, Ringmaster by Brianna Hale. Now, I read only one other Brianna Hale, and I didn't like it at all. So Tamika, who is Brianna Hale's like biggest fan, she loves Brianna Hale, and that's who I heard this author's name from, was Tamika talking about how much she loves her. I just picked the wrong book for me, and Tamika's like, you should read Ringmaster. It might be the only book that I'll read by Brianna Hale because Jen also told me that the majority of Brianna Hale's works include things that I don't like in romance and what I didn't like about The Black Fox, but Ringmaster is apparently one of her only like slow burns, and it's a very sweet romance about this girl. It's an age gap romance between the ringmaster of this traveling circus in Britain and this girl who had a terrible home life. She was severely abused by her father, and one day day, when it looked like she was about to die, like he was about to kill her dad, she runs away, and Kale's circus just so happened to just be passing by, and he sees her fly through on horseback, and he decides to follow her, and he helps her, gives her a place to say that you're safe with us, and you're going to kind of be part of our family. And I love it. It's a gradual romance. The entire romance takes place over the course of like a year and a half, and it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful love story. I totally believed it. Their sexual chemistry was amazing, and it was just really great. Now for my 4.5 stars, I had to mention The Rebel by Sophie Lark, because she's doing something pretty interesting with this mafia romance. And even though her Brutal Birthright series is technically, could be considered new adult romance because some of the characters are pretty young, in their late teens or early 20s, I feel like this just has more of a vibe of new adult romance because it's a college setting. They are going to a mafia school specifically for mafia children. It's a unique setting, a unique college campus atmosphere, but I really liked it. Also, what's very intriguing to me is I'm not a person who enjoys multiple points of views besides the hero and the heroine's point of view. If there's like a third point of view, I don't really like it. This series will have the third point of view in every single book. It had it in the first book, The Heir, and in The Rebel, it'll have it in The Bully, which is coming out soon in June, which I'm so excited about. I feel like it's a great addition to the story though. This is one of the only times where I'm just like, I don't mind that extra point of view. It adds to the story. It was phenomenal, and I really like this story. There are some really jaw-dropping moments, and I just feel like everybody should read this series. If you're into mafia and you want something different, I really like this series. Then I also have to mention After Midnight by Teresa Medeiros. I gave this book 4.5 stars. I was very surprised. I was one of the only people, because I read this for the Rake Appreciation Society. This was their pick for May. I was one of the only people who rated it highly. I think there was like 2 other people who really liked it like I did, but I don't know what it was about the mix of paranormal and historical that worked for me. I laughed. It just made me smile. I stayed up pretty late binging this book because I could not put it down. The heroine is an orphan, and she's taking care of her 2 younger sisters. Her middle sister is actually out in London society being taken under the wing of their aunt, who only really make a debut for one of her nieces, so they decide to take in the second sister because she's younger. And the heroine is like almost in spinster territory. But her sister has caught the eye of this guy who has been rumored to be a vampire, and she's doesn't believe it at first, but whenever she meets him, there's some things going on that maybe he is a vampire. So she's trying to get to the bottom of that because she doesn't want her sister to marry a vampire who maybe only wants her for like a snack. I enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. I want to read the second book in the series. I want to get the paperback. I want to read it in paperback. But I really enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised. I do also want to mention that I really did like Neon Gods by Katie Robert. I gave this book 4 solid stars. Katie Robert is an author that I normally don't enjoy. I'm in the minority with my love for Katie Robert, but this book worked for me. I really like it, but I also really like mythology. But this is one of my favorite Hades and Persephone retellings. I haven't come across another Hades and Persephone romance that I enjoyed this much. I'm a huge fan of Lore Olympus. That's kind of like my top tier Hades and Persephone relationship goals type of thing. But when it comes to actual romance novels, Neon Gods is my top favorite. It was really good. It was very, very good. It still had those elements that I'm not too fond of that Katie Robert usually includes with her romance novels, but it didn't bother me as much because the story was just so good and it was worth it. I do also want to mention The Protector by Elin Pierre. This is the sci-fi series that I was reading, the Men of the North series. It's a very interesting world where a couple hundred years down the road, there was this huge war, huge setback in our society. The majority of men were pretty much wiped out, and women started ruling the world. And nowadays, there are no countries. There's only the Motherlands and there's the Northlands. And the Northlands are just a tiny section towards the north. These men who live in the Northlands keep like the old ways. And it's basically like the men of the North are hyper masculine, and everyone else in the Motherlands, they shun things that are hyper masculine, because they're like, the reason why our world was ruined was because men were power hungry and they destroyed everything. And even talking about the Northmen is kind of like a forbidden thing. And in The Protector, where the series really kicks off, the heroine is a professor and she has a very popular class because she has gotten approval to actually talk about the Northmen. So everybody wants to like talk about the Northmen. And then she's also an archaeologist. She gets called to go to the Northlands because there was a library that was discovered and she is going to go uncover these old texts. So she's very interested in like history, uncovering, like discovering things that humans used to do, all kind of things like that. Now, I did rate books in this series higher. I just think it's best to explain the series when talking about book 1, because there's things that happen toward the end of book 1 that kind of shift the stories that come after it. So I feel like it's hard to talk about the next books in the series without a couple of spoilers. So I just thought that I would mention, I really did like, I've only read 6 books in the Men of the North series. I liked the majority of them. I don't know if I'll continue reading the series though, because the last 2 that I read, books 5 and 6, weren't my absolute favorites out of the bunch. And I'm wondering if like the whole novelty of the situation, like Northmen versus women of the motherlands, it's just kind of like, okay, well, we've heard this story before type of thing. So I don't know. I'll never say never, because all the books are on any place, so they're just kind of like sitting there. I might. Okay, that concludes my monthly wrap up. I had a really good month, guys. I really do need to try to incorporate some more historicals. I did really great in April, but that was because I was binging The Wilds of Lindo Castle and Maiden Lane series, so that's why I had so many historicals in April, and then I was done with both of those series by May. I also need to venture out and not discover, because I know of a lot of historical romance authors. It's just like picking up that first book, that first series by them, and getting a feel. A lot of historical romance authors have like a huge backlist, and sometimes it's hard to know where to start. That's part of the plan of June. That's part of my like unofficial plan, TBR plan. We'll see whenever I do my wrap up for June how that all went. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe to get notified of any future videos that I do. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, life's better with little HEA. Bye guys!